The story opens with Kyle Sanders jerking awake in his cramped rental quarters on Nexus Gamma Station, his heart pounding for reasons his sleep-fogged brain hasn't yet identified. The quarters are typical: small sleeping alcove, basic refresher unit, terminal for station access, and barely enough room to walk between furniture. Kyle's a contract engineer, currently between assignments, and these quarters are cheap enough that he doesn't question the occasional strange noise or flickering light. As his eyes adjust to the dim emergency lighting that never quite turns off, Kyle realizes what woke him. Someone else is in his bed. Specifically, lying calmly on the other side of his narrow sleeping platform, propped up on one elbow and watching him with eyes that reflect the low light like a cat's. Kyle's instinct is to yell or scramble away, but his engineer's brain notices details that don't match immediate threat. The woman, clearly alien, with elongated canines visible even with her mouth closed and pale skin that seems to absorb rather than reflect light, is maintaining careful distance, her posture non-aggressive. Her long, delicately curved ears mark her as Noctare, a species Kyle knows primarily through rumors and sensationalized media. Vampire-like aliens who feed on bioenergy can move with supernatural speed and trigger primal fear responses in most other species. She's watching him with an intensity that should be terrifying, but there's something else in her expression: wariness, maybe, or calculation. Kyle forces his breathing to steady, years of working in dangerous environments teaching him that panic kills more effectively than most actual threats. Okay, hi, you're in my bed, and you're Noctare, which is unexpected. Are you planning to eat me? Because I'd appreciate knowing that up front. The woman's lips curve slightly, not quite a smile, but something close to approval. If I intended to feed, you would not have woken. Her voice is low, accented with patterns Kyle's translator implant struggles to parse. I sought refuge. You were recommended. Recommended by who, and for what? Kyle sits up slowly, keeping his movements non-threatening. The woman mirrors his caution, not moving from her position but staying alert. By those who know humans. Your species is said to resist the fear response my kind naturally triggers in others. You calculate threat rather than fleeing on instinct. She pauses, her reflective eyes never leaving his face. I am Vesa. I am being hunted by station security for crimes I did not commit. I needed sanctuary with someone who would not immediately panic and alert authorities. Kyle processes this. So you broke into my quarters. How, by the way, since the locks are supposed to be secure, and decided to just lie down in my bed? That was your approach to seeking sanctuary. Noctare, I share resting spaces as sign of trust and non-aggression. In my culture, if I meant you harm, I would not have positioned myself so vulnerably. Vesa's ears twitch, nervousness, Kyle's cultural database suggests. I chose your bed specifically because it signals I am not claiming territory, but requesting protection. Kyle runs a hand through his hair, trying to decide if he's experiencing the weirdest night of his life, or if he's still asleep, and this is a stress dream. Let me get this straight. You're a fugitive. You broke into my quarters. You're literally in my bed. And this is somehow your species' version of asking for help politely. Yes. Vesa says this with complete sincerity, no apparent awareness that this might be unusual from a human perspective. Kyle looks at her, this alien vampire woman who could probably kill him in seconds if she wanted, who instead chose to lie calmly beside him and wait for him to wake up. His engineering brain runs the risk assessment. If she wanted him dead, he'd be dead. If she wanted to feed, she'd have done it while he slept. The fact that he woke up unharmed suggests her story might actually be legitimate. What crimes are you accused of? Energy theft and assault, neither of which I committed. Vesa's voice hardens. 3 nights ago, someone attacked a merchant in the lower levels, draining his bioenergy to dangerous levels. Witnesses reported a Noctare woman. Station security is systematically hunting my kind, assuming guilt based on species. And you ended up here because. Because I have been hiding in maintenance corridors and storage areas for days, growing weak from lack of proper rest. I needed someone who would not immediately raise alarm. Your file indicated engineering background, logical thinking patterns, and notable lack of panic during previous station emergencies. She pauses. You were calculated risk. Kyle considers sending her away, calling security, pretending this never happened. But looking at Vesa, clearly exhausted despite her attempt at calm composure, eyes showing the kind of wariness that comes from being hunted, he makes a decision that's probably stupid but feels right. Okay, you can stay for now, but we need ground rules. Vesa's ears perk forward, surprise and hope. You will grant sanctuary. I'm not sending you out to be arrested for something you didn't do. That's not how I operate. Kyle shifts to sit on the edge of the bed, giving her more space. But you need to explain what actually happened, and we need a plan that doesn't end with both of us in station detention. Over the following hours, as station night cycle continues and Kyle's quarters remain sealed and private, Vesa tells her story. She came to Nexus Gamma seeking work as an energy consultant. Noctara have natural ability to sense and manipulate bioenergy that makes them valuable for medical and technical applications. But her species' reputation creates constant suspicion. When the attack happened, station security immediately targeted all Noctari residents. Vesa fled rather than face arrest based solely on species prejudice. Why my bed specifically? Kyle asks at one point. Why not just hide in a corner or something? Noctari are vulnerable when resting. We enter deep torpor to conserve energy. Sharing sleeping space with someone who is awake and aware provides protection we cannot maintain ourselves. Vesa looks at him directly. I trusted you not to harm me while I was defenseless. That trust is significant in my culture. Kyle realizes the weight of what she's saying. So by letting you stay, by being in the same space while you sleep, I'm accepting some kind of bond. Protective bond, yes. Not romantic or permanent, but significant. You become recognized as safekeeper, one who shields rather than threatens. As dawn cycle approaches on the station, Kyle and Vesa work out a plan. Kyle will use his engineering access to check security footage from the attack night, see if he can identify the actual perpetrator or at least prove Vesa wasn't in the area. Vesa will remain in his quarters, resting and recovering strength. When Kyle returns from his shift, having successfully identified that the attacker was actually a Noctari male, and having quietly passed that information to a security contact he trusts, he finds Vesa exactly where he left her, sleeping in his bed with the kind of deep torpor she described. Seeing her vulnerable like this, Kyle understands the trust she placed in him. She literally made herself defenseless in his presence, betting her life on his character. When she wakes as evening cycle begins, Kyle shares what he found. Security is still searching, but I got the evidence to the right person. They're looking for a male now, not targeting all Noctari. You should be safe to emerge soon. Vesa looks at him with an expression that carries gratitude and something deeper. You protected me while I rested. You investigated on my behalf. You fulfilled the safekeeper role without being asked. This bond. She pauses, searching for words. This bond is now genuine, not just request and acceptance but proven through action. Over the following weeks, as Vesa's name is cleared and she establishes legitimate work on the station, she continues to occasionally appear in Kyle's quarters, always announced now, always welcomed. They develop an unusual friendship built on the foundation of that first night when she trusted him with her most vulnerable state, and he chose protection over fear. When colleagues ask Kyle about his Noctari friend, visible relationship with her species still raising eyebrows, he shrugs. She needed help, I could provide it. The rest just followed from not being an asshole about it. Vesa, overhearing once, laughs. Very human explanation. Reduce profound protective bond to not being an asshole. Though technically accurate. As they sit in Kyle's quarters one evening, Vesa explaining Noctare energy manipulation theories, while Kyle explains human engineering principles, both learning from perspectives the other offers. Kyle reflects on the night he woke to find a vampire woman in his bed. Most people would have panicked, called security, demanded